Good evening, my name is Chelsea Cruz, and I'm talking to you guys about drug testing student athletes in high school. So why should we drug test student athletes in high school? Student athletes represent their school, and if they're abusing drugs, it can have a significant impact on the school and the officials as well. Student athletes not only represent their school, they are role models to other students. It's an advantage of being a student athlete, and of course there are rules and regulations that are to be expected. So right here is a study conducted in 2004-2005 by the American Public Health Association. 28.4 out of all students that were drug tested came out negative, and 98.4% of those were student athletes that came out negative. So this right here shows that it has a positive effect on student athletes being drug tested. According to the Tagampoa school system, states embraces the opportunity to provide the optimum health and safety for students involved in athletic type, extracurricular activities through a drug testing program. Most students don't know what kind of drugs they are using, and they don't know how it's detrimental to their health. So for steroids, for example, it increases blood pressure, and it also increases strokes. Caffeine-based pre-workout increases blood pressure and also increases heart rate. For example, marijuana increases blood pressure, increases strokes, dehydration, and risk of cancer, and that is the #1 drug that is being used in high schools today. So the controversy of this issue. Major schools are using drugs, and it requires the Fourth Amendment right, which prohibits all unreasonable searches and seizures. However, the Supreme Court ruled that if you are in extracurricular activity in high school, you are required to consent in drug testing student athletes. Going back to the case that set this all, it was in Oregon, Acton versus Verona School District. A student by the name of James Acton wanted to play football for his school. He was brought home as a drug test, but while he refused to take it, the school did not let him allow to play football because he did not take the drug test. He had an argument that it went against his Fourth Amendment right. And the Fourth Amendment right says the right of all people should be secure and persons against unreasonable searches should not be violated. Now looking at the Arizona law of drug testing, Arizona has laws that allow drug testing in certain situations, such as student athletes, as long as the employer, and going to the workforce, as long as the employer follows the procedures rules. Since the students are well aware that schools do drug tests, there shouldn't be any problems with students who claim to say their rights have been violated. There have been many schools that have been enforced, but a couple schools that are, for example, would be St. Mary's Catholic High School in Phoenix, and also a school in Tucson called South Point Catholic High School. This right here is at it's in the St. Mary's Student Handbook, showing that all students must consent to the drug testing in student athletes. And this right here is South Point in the handbook, all going for students that are participating in extracurricular activities they must participate in the drug testing as well. Recently, it had also been enforced in the Chandler High School District, but for all students, not specifically for student athletes. Also, the Florence High School has been a part of drug testing their student athletes for 4 years now. Their director of the high school said, "It's finally working and we are seeing good results." Now finally, we have a solution. Since all students must play to play, their drug testing fund is added to the amount. And if you guys don't know, the pay to play is if you're in any athletic sports, you must pay to participate to play in that sport. So another solution would be grants that supports this cause. According to the Department of Education, the projects funded by these grants also must be consistent with constitutional principles and state and federal laws and requirements. Regarding student drug testing, it must ensure the confidential of testing results. And the only people that are allowed to know of the student's results are the family and the student itself. And if they are drug tested positive, their consequences will be enforced with the school district itself. And if we all can get together and have drug test student athletes, many of these athletes will not participate in drugs. As shown in previous slides, we will all have a safe drug environment, and safe health. And I'm ready to open the floor for any questions.
Were you ever drug tested at your
Yes,
high school?
when my sophomore year, I played varsity volleyball, and I was drug tested. I was drug tested the first year in this varsity sport, and of course, I came out negative.
Does this drug test consist of both performance enhancing as well as illegal substances such as marijuana and
Steroids, you're saying?
well, steroids as well as marijuana?
Well, the drug testing that I went through, all they did was take out a piece of my hair, or you peed in the test. So I don't know what kind of drug, like how you can tell what drug they're using by doing that. Alrighty, thank you so much, and thank you guys for listening to my speech.